Hi, Gary here, and beautiful day in Northern Illinois as I'm wrapping up a day actually of kind of a busy week so far. A couple of trips back to Ohio from here for various reasons, and and it's probably my last year of assigning soccer referees. I started in 1989, so it's time for the old guy to go. But anyway, it's been pretty hectic and taking a little break at the end of this Wednesday when I'm recording this, just to put down some thoughts that I've previously put out before. So this is Gary, technically known as Gary on manufacturing, but sometimes my thoughts go various different directions. So it was 2003, and a group of three of us in late winter, early spring gathered in a conference room to plot the beginnings of a new magazine to be called Automation World. Um, and we needed to put some pieces together, and I've done, or at that point, I had actually already done a lot of product development. And so I'm looking at, the magazine business, and you have to put a bunch of different things together for the magazine business. And some of that is you need kind of like a market. So there's got to be a market that's hopefully thriving. If it's not thriving, you're not going to make any money. And part of that market are companies that are supplying products, services, technologies, whatever to that market. And then the magazine, of course, is dependent upon readers. And what you do in that kind of media business is you bring readers and advertisers together. You put uh, information out there that hopefully is really useful, and helps the readers that we're trying to target to grow and to learn and to see what's new out there in the market. And the premise is that the advertisers are trying to tell those readers about their products and services. And it's a model that lasted a long time, and a lot of money was made in trade press. And I got a piece of some of that for 15 years, for which I'm quite thankful. But that market, of course, is or that whole paradigm it's been all blowing up, which is why I'm doing this podcast on my own, and it's why I have a blog. When I went out on my own 10, 12 years ago now. And because that's kind of like digital and blogging's where it at. You don't make an awful lot of money doing this. Sure, some influencers make a lot of money, but I don't want to sell my soul. So that's where we're at. So we were plotting it, and as I was looking, I said, well, this is the market I see, and here's the companies that are involved and interested, and so on. And what I see is building a magazine's editorial content around intelligent application of automation. And so we don't want to be a catalog, for example, of just product releases. And we don't want to get too theoretical, a lot of math and programming. I would have been happy, but no, that doesn't really work either. But let's look at, because nobody's really looking at this, and the intelligent application of automation requires having actually worked out in the field. Usually, it's a teamwork process. There's might probably a lead engineer at the customer site. They're bringing in expertise from a vendor or a systems integrator or both. And within the company, usually there's more teamwork involved. Um, Back in when I was working, not so much IT, but as things went on, because networking got to be so big, so IT got involved. So we built the premise of the readership of the magazine, and originally we thought one third IT, maybe manufacturing IT, which is getting to be a new thing, and then controls and automation engineers, or what's called operations technology, OT, and then management. And so the original readership of Automation World was approximately a third, a third, a third. That way, it kind of morphed because manufacturing IT kind of dropped off, and so IT readers were a little bit less, and management. maybe a little bit less as a percentage, but greater than IT. And that's kind of where we went. So I wanted to write articles or have my writers write articles that were about this process. Typically, if you got a press release from a vendor, um, in this kind of genre, what they would say is Joe had a problem. Joe turned two. In PR speak, it's always turn two. So Joe turned two, company R, and bought product XYZ. Product XYZ specs are blah 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 blah, and it'll go faster and it's more durable and blah 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 more about the product. And in the last paragraph is and Joe's problem was solved and Joe's happy. And I said, okay, we got to throw that paradigm out. That's who's going to read all of that. So let's try to make it interesting. And so Joe's a protagonist, and we've got the protagonist, and he puts a team together, and the team includes like the vendor, and we've got to talk about the product because he's going to apply a programmable controller, a computer, a variable frequency drive, uh, some other kind of drive, some other kind of system, some networking, some sensors, whatever puts this whole system together. And we can promote, the end user, we could promote the systems integrator. We can let the readers of the magazine know about these products and services and technologies that all together go together. And and try to do that. Um, and so therefore, we put together a magazine like that, and that's where I tried to get the editorial, and we were fairly successful at doing that. And 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 it was the magazine lasted. In fact, the magazine still exists. I've been gone since 2013, and Dave Greenfield took my place, and he's shepherded it for the next, well, since 2013, 12 years. He's been there. I was only there 10, so he's outlasted me, and it is still going on. But the one reason I left is they wanted to change the editorial policy, and they wanted to do things and I didn't want to do. So anyway, I want to talk about the intelligent application of automation here with an interview I had with a business owner by the name of Mike Payne. But first, let me talk about the sponsor, my longtime sponsor, Inductive Automation. So, automation enthusiasts, mark your calendar for the premier industry event of the year on September 16th through 18th, just coming up next month from when I'm recording this in Sacramento, California. That's when the Ignition Community Conference will power up your industrial knowledge and your professional network. This year, attracting more than 1,000 industry professionals, 50 expert speakers, and 40 exhibitor booths demonstrating cutting-edge tech, ICC is the place to explore automation innovation through a full schedule of engaging sessions, enlightening content, and interactive activities, all while connecting with the brightest minds. Well, I'll be there. You could connect with me too. Maybe not the brightest, but maybe up there a little bit. I don't know. But anyway, new this year are the Prove It showcases, where you'll see actual Industry 4.0 challenges involving solving live in real-time problems, and the Co-Lab rooms for mingling and session speakers and testing your ignition skills. Level up your conference experience and purchase your ticket at icc.inductiveautomation.com. The place to go. I've always loved being there. Great conversations, especially at lunchtime, with people who are actual users and finding out what's going on out in the world. So some time ago, a couple of months now, I was at the Hexagon conference, and we tried to set up a meeting with a guy by the name of Mike Payne. He was co-owner and president of Hill Manufacturing in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And we couldn't really connect while we were in Las Vegas, and it took a little bit of time. We eventually connected over Zoom, and I wanted to talk to this because I was at Hexagon. I talked all their cool technology, their very accurate sensing technologies, and so on, and other automation stuff that Hexagon has. But I'm always interested in talking to somebody who actually uses the stuff. This is really cool stuff. Does anybody actually use it? That's usually my question, and it pains marketing people when I ask the question, but that's life. So I finally caught up with Mike, and he graduated from the University of Tulsa. He told me with a degree in management information solutions, founded a software company with some other people focused on shop floor data collection. Um, and I've talked to these. I never talked to that company, but I've talked to companies like that. They collect data from the automation, from sensors, and so on, and kind of massage the data, ship it off to ERP. And eventually left the company and pivoted into being an investment guy. And then he decided that he liked manufacturing, and he invested in Hill Manufacturing by actually purchasing it from the Hill family in 2017. Um, and so this is a production machine shop. I haven't talked to anybody in that kind of field. Really cool. Uh, so it's been in business for about 40 years. And he said pretty much making the same parts for the same customers in the same way all that time. So he bought the company and he dived in studying their processes, and he began to bring new technology in to the processes to leverage it for productivity improvements. Um, he bought the company. He needs to enhance profitability to pay off everything exactly. So he says now it's more of a tech company that makes parts than a standard machine shop that just cranks out parts. The key driver is driving productivity. And like everybody these days, he experienced the pain of finding new employees, plus leveraging technology to improve processes enables his current employees to produce more parts. So if I can't hire enough people, I need to have all the people be more productive, and that includes making my machines better so that they're capable of enhancing this productivity. So it's a tough business, and I've been in businesses like that. Yes, it's a tough business. Whittling out a little more profit for each part um, is what keeps things going, pays the bills, and makes things happy. So staying investment on the opposite on the investment side, Hill's acquired several other machine shops, and he's grown from 22 spindles to 63 over the time that he's owned the company. With each acquisition, he's discovered many improvements to productivity and profitability comes from upgrading technology on the machines he's acquired. And so he keeps the machines, he upgrades the older machines with new technology that provides a new leaf on life that he calls a second round of life. Some of these things are simple, like better tooling. There's a special coating. I'm not in that business anymore for quite a long time, so I forget about all the different tools and machining centers, but bits and whatever you call them, and there's new ceramic coatings that improve things. And there's new things that he can do like that. Probably a little bit like a customer I had once a long time ago, where his lathes were huge lathes, as in huge lathes, big investment in each one, but to upgrade it, the DC drives were all really old. So we started a program, and somebody told me one time I was the area's leading salesperson for drive sales, and I said, then obviously that's why you're not doing so well, because I didn't sell enough and I quit and I became an editor. But anyway, we were upgrading that way. He's doing kind of the same thing. He's looking for little things he can do, or sometimes a little bit bigger, to make each machine a little bit better, a little more productive. And then I asked him about AI, and he said, "Well, I use AI in the front office, and since I'm doing a lot of stuff on AI, I was all ears." And he says he's got a couple of processes. He uses an application called Toolpath, and they take the 3D model from the CAD, from the drawing, and use AI along with their CNC programming software to do the actual programming. It's theoretically capable of providing 100% of a program, but they've discovered that it's really about 80% good. And I've just heard two other podcasts today in my podcast listening from tech guys in programming talking about the same thing. You could use AI, one of those generative AI models to do your programming. You're better off not trusting it for 100%. And that's what he's found. He's found that he can get about 80%, but now his programmers are much more efficient. Now they don't have to start from scratch with every piece. that they're doing, they can apply the AI model and get about 80%, and then they can go in and they can like shape it, finish it, and get finished polished code. He said AI is also pretty good at reading G code, and if you're a CNC programmer, you know what I mean. But it can read G codes, and it could translate that code to English, enter it into the shop floor management software, and then that software does things like sets up workflows and tool setups and work instructions, kind of a workflow kind of thing, which is really cool. And it makes the operators then, so now we're gone from programmers to operators, and it makes the operators more efficient and effective with more and better workflow instructions. And oh, remember Hexagon? I started with Hexagon. So they use laser management or laser measurement devices from Hexagon to close to the machine. So machine laser measurement device, and these things can be, depending on which ones you buy, really super sensitive and can measure down to almost microns. They can go crazy depending on what you buy. I don't know which ones he has, but he uses those as a quality check to make sure that that they are maintaining standard while they're going. You don't want to start cranking up a machine, then they're done that, and then have it turn out junk. So they use the Hexagon device to make sure right there, immediate quality feedback, so that they've got it. And then he uses a Hexagon partner called Datanomics to improve productivity. So he's added a bunch of different things. And since he's always searching for new technology to improve processes, um, and I talked about coatings on the drill, for example, and different things like that. So, so basically, Payne told me he does two times the revenue with two-thirds of the people. And given the fact, I mean, and I don't think it's just because of Tulsa, Oklahoma, it can be anywhere. I'm in the northern suburbs of Chicago. My neighbor over here has a custom sheet metal shop. Same problem, finding people to with at least enough skills to do, and he needs a few really skilled people, and so you need to find ways to make your people more productive. Call that the intelligent application of technology in manufacturing. And I'd like to remind you, as I bring this to a close, that I'm sponsored by this podcast is sponsored by my website, mostly sponsored by Inductive Automation. This year, next month, from where I'm recording this, they've moved from the Ignition Community Conference, and it is a community. It's not just customer conference where they throw crap at you, but it's a real community of bidirectional discussions and so on. And you'll learn all about the new version of Ignition 8.3, which I didn't talk about here. But anyway, they've moved from Folsom, where they've been at the Harris Center for years, but they were limited to 800 people, and now they're at the Sacramento Convention Center, where they can double the capacity, and so you could still, amazingly, you could still get a ticket to get in. And even if you don't register, and I'm sure they didn't tell me, but in the past you could get a lot of the sessions online. If you can't make it to Sacramento, if you make it to Sacramento, look me up, say hi. Let's have a coffee. But the Ignition Community Conference, a lot of stuff going on, a lot of activity, a lot of people to talk to and learn from, lots of learning opportunities and lots of fun opportunities. So hope to see you in Sacramento. So go to icc.inductiveautomation.com. And this is Gary Minchell, Gary on Manufacturing. My website is themanufacturingconnection.com, and you can check my writing there, where I recently talked about an economist who actually did an analysis that made sense, go figure, on the state of manufacturing, of automotive manufacturing specifically in America, and it's not as dire as you might think. So anyway, check out themanufacturingconnection.com. Thank you for listening. If you like this, pass it on to a friend.